I worked the late-night shift at a quiet gas station off a desolate Ohio highway. The graveyard shift was usually peaceful, but one night still haunts me. Around 1 a.m., a lone car pulled into the station. The driver didn't exit the car immediately, and after a while, he silently entered the store, hood drawn, avoiding eye contact. He disappeared into the snack section, making no noise. I offered help, but he ignored me and vanished into the store's depths. The eerie silence lingered until he abruptly reappeared, barely acknowledging me, and then swiftly left without buying anything. He returned to his car, acting strangely, then motioned for me to join him. His erratic behavior made my skin crawl. He hurriedly approached the store, waving frantically, his hand concealed in his pocket, undoubtedly gripping a blade. Fear seized me. I locked the door just as he tried to force his way in, his eyes fixated on me. His relentless banging on the windows echoed through the store. I threatened to call the cops, and the banging stopped, but his car lingered outside. When another customer arrived, we spoke about the unsettling incident, providing some relief. Yet, even after the strange man left, unease lingered. My journey home was filled with dread, haunted by the disturbing encounter. Throughout my tenure there, nothing as peculiar happened again, but the chilling memory of that night persisted.
It was only a few weeks back when the haunting incident occurred at the 24-hour drive-through restaurant where I worked. I'm the crew manager, but that night, I was the sole worker after the cook called in sick and no one could cover the shift. Typically, overnight hours were quiet until 4 a.m., but that night, I had to manage everything alone. As I worked, a banging noise disrupted my tasks. A man stood outside, rapping vigorously on the closed front door, peering into the darkened eatery. When I approached, he backed away, seemingly waiting for me to unlock the door, despite my instructions to use the drive-thru. Assuming he would leave, I returned to my duties. Periodically checking the front, I found no sign of him. But later, my headset buzzed with an order from the drive-thru. Oddly, no vehicle was there. Investigating, I heard subtle rooftop footsteps. The creeping sound above confirmed someone's presence, prompting a chilling realization. They were on the restaurant's roof. Rushing to secure the maintenance hatch, I grappled with the unfamiliar locking mechanism, fearing an imminent intrusion. Suddenly, the hatch creaked open, revealing only a pair of eyes staring through the gap. Panicked, I bolted to the front, summoning the police and fleeing to my car. As I waited, terror struck when a shadow moved within the restaurant. A figure emerged in the distance, observing me. Though police arrived swiftly, the intruder had fled, leaving no trace or stolen goods. His intentions remained shrouded in mystery. Despite his face captured on cameras, the police couldn't confirm his identity. The building owner finally added a padlock to the hatch, a safety measure that was long overdue. The unanswered questions linger, fueling anxiety and raising concerns about the intruder's intentions. This recent incident still plagues me, leaving me uneasy and haunted by the possibility of another encounter. The fear that he might return, lurking in the shadows, waiting for an opportunity to strike again, remains a chilling prospect.
Back in 2019, I landed my second job as a delivery driver for a local Chinese restaurant. The job was good, quick-paced, and a treasure trove of tips. However, one haunting night left an indelible mark on my memory. It was a chaotic Thursday, with 3 of us delivery guys hustling before closing time. My boss, an uncompromising figure, dispatched me on a last-minute delivery, emphasizing a swift return. The address was in a rundown area 5 miles away. Despite the location, the prospect of a hefty tip spurred me on. Arriving at the house, I hesitated. The property exuded an air of neglect, and something felt off. As I approached, I glimpsed a peculiar sight, a pair of eyes peering at me from an upstairs window. It wasn't a child, it was the gaze of a grown man, lurking, trying to stay concealed. I pushed aside the unease and proceeded to the door. A note awaited me, a cryptic message about a broken doorbell, a sleeper, and unlocked doors, instructing me to enter and leave the food on the table. It set off alarms in my head, sending chills down my spine. Glancing back at the window, the watcher had vanished. Rationalizing the situation, I speculated about an awkward customer who avoided interactions. The unlocked door invited me in, and I stepped into a pitch-black abyss. No hint of light, no trace of a table. Using my phone as a makeshift torch, I ventured left toward what seemed to be the kitchen. In the obscurity, a shadowy figure loomed in the corner, featureless, just a foreboding silhouette. Alarm bells screamed in my head, urging me to flee. Without second thought, I abandoned the food and bolted out, not daring to look back. The darkness of that eerie house and its ominous inhabitant haunted me as I fled to my car. My boss's fury at my retreat didn't faze me. The terror was too consuming. Despite completing another delivery later that night, my mind remained fixated on the chilling encounter. I couldn't shake the dreadful thoughts of what might have lurked in that sinister house had I approached the table. That night's events left an indelible mark, imprinting fear and apprehension that lingered for days. It was a delivery that I could never erase from my memory.
For the past 5 years, I've roamed the country, taking up odd jobs and living out of my van. One of these stints landed me in the heart of the Mideast region of Utah, working the night shift at a desolate gas station. Nestled on a quiet road, this solitary station was a pit stop for locals dodging highway traffic. The isolation suited me well. I could park my van and work without the bustle of city life. Yet one unassuming night changed the rhythm of my solitary existence. The clock struck 1 a.m., and an eerie silence enveloped the station, with only a few customers filling their tanks. Then, a lone car pulled in, parking directly in front of the station. I returned to the counter, expecting a typical customer. A man entered, grinning at me before delving into the aisles. He perused the shelves, handling items absent-mindedly, a whistle punctuating his aimless wandering. His erratic behavior heightened my unease. It was peculiar, as though he wasn't shopping but merely toying with random items. Abruptly, he ceased whistling, exited, and retrieved something from his car. An air of apprehension lingered. It felt like a scene from a robbery, but his demeanor didn't betray any malicious intent. Returning inside, he engaged me in polite conversation, momentarily easing my nerves. However, his request for assistance with his car unsettled me. Escorting him outside, he indicated that his tires needed air. As I crouched to rectify the supposed issue, his demeanor shifted, his gaze intense, and his hand concealed within his jacket, poised for action. Fear clawed at me, anticipating the worst, but he abruptly darted past, speeding away. I dialed 911, relaying the eerie encounter, and the police were swift to respond. They informed me that the man was a fugitive from a recent serious crime near the border, hinting at the gravity of his actions. Despite my efforts to seek updates, I found nothing. The incident remained shrouded in mystery, the man's intentions and his abrupt exit haunting my thoughts. His strange behavior left me pondering over his ulterior motives, perhaps an attempt to hijack my van or evade capture by leveraging the situation. The encounter's enigma lingered, leaving me with unanswered questions about the true intentions of the man who momentarily disrupted the quiet night at that remote gas station.
It was only my 3rd month on the job as a police officer, and I was already hurled into a nightmarish incident that rattled me to the core. Assigned to the graveyard shift, I patrolled a desolate route in our town, haunted by eerie silence and shadowed by dense forest. Amidst the darkness, Warren Street stood as a solitary, well-lit strip in an otherwise somber landscape. The streetlights cascaded an eerie glow on this silent alley. The shops were shut tight. An eerie calm engulfed the area. It was on one of these haunting nights that I stumbled upon an inexplicable anomaly. A coffee shop illuminated from within. The sight sent shivers down my spine. The shop, a closed entity at 6 p.m. on weekdays, stood aglow in the dead of night. Something was awry, and my instincts urged me to investigate further. With a cautious approach, I tested the door, finding it strangely unlocked. The ominous silence swallowed my voice as I called out the owner's name. Echoes of my own voice reverberated through the empty cafe, creating an eerie symphony of sound. Yet, something stirred in the depths, an obscure sound emanating from the basement. Unbeknownst to me until that moment, the shop concealed a dark secret, a hidden basement. Armed with a flashlight and trembling with trepidation, I descended into the darkness, guided only by the narrow beam of my device. At the base of the concrete stairs, engulfed in darkness, I scoured the grimy basement. A peculiar sound, a fusion of mechanized and organic discordance, echoed from a distant corner, an air vent. Drawn by an inexplicable dread, I ventured closer. The eerie sounds, reminiscent of labored breathing, jolted my heart into a frenzy. I strained to peer into the vent, only to meet with an impenetrable barrier, the grille thwarting any illumination. Eager to uncover the source of this macabre symphony, I pressed my ear to the vent only to confirm my fears. The eerie breathing of an unseen entity emanated from within. As terror coursed through my veins, I aimed my flashlight at a different angle, hoping for a glimpse of the hidden. In the eerie glow materialized mere inches from my face, concealed behind the vent. Adrenaline surged as I drew my gun, demanding the hidden entity to emerge. But the vent remained obstinate, sealed shut, as I heard the faint echoes of someone escaping through the maze of vents. Desperate for answers, I summoned backup. An exhaustive search ensued, but the insidious intruder had vanished without a trace. No signs of forced entry, no vandalized windows, nothing to explain the inexplicable. The spine-chilling silence of that night still resonates, a sinister symphony of unidentified sounds lurking within the shop's depths, emanating from the mysterious vents, etching a harrowing tale that remains unresolved to this day.
In the bustling heart of the city, I found solace and excitement behind the bar counter, mixing elixirs for patrons who often blurred into a sea of faces. 3 years of slinging drinks had become my routine, nestled in an apartment just blocks away from the lively bar. While my job had its share of harrowing moments, nothing sent shivers down my spine quite like that fateful night, barely a year ago. Nights typically bled into dawn, ending at 2 or 3 a.m. in the throes of bustling crowds. Amidst the frenzy, a man, obscured by dated sunglasses and a hat, fixated on me from outside the large front window. His unnerving gaze penetrated my soul, an unsettling encounter that I dismissed in the flurry of a busy shift. But the incident repeated. The same man returned, locking eyes with me through the glass, standing inches away from the window. The intensity of his stare fouled an anxious disquiet within me. When he finally departed, a cold unease settled deep in my bones. My journey home, usually a brisk 10-minute walk, took a terrifying turn. As the city dozed off, an empty sidewalk greeted me, save for the shadows. In the dead of night, passing an alley, my gaze met the same man, an anomaly in the desolate darkness, piercing my solitude with his unflinching stare. My pace quickened, dread clutching at my insides. His reappearance left me questioning the sinister connection. Was I targeted? Nervously glancing back, I hastened my steps, fumbling for my mace, bracing for the worst. Though he didn't follow, my pulse raced with the terror of the unknown. Home's sanctuary didn't shield me. Upon reaching my 5th-floor apartment, I glimpsed out the window to find him, gazing straight at me from the desolate street. Panic seized me, forcing a swift retreat, barricading myself from his chilling gaze. Days became a relentless spiral of paranoia, confiding in friends and colleagues about the haunting figure. Fear paralyzed me, culminating in a night of terror. A faint noise outside my door pierced the silence, followed by the chilling sound of my doorknob being tested. Panic-stricken, I dialed 911 from my closet, consumed by a fear I had never known. His persistent knocking evoked a terror I couldn't escape. My heart pounded, gripped by a paralyzing fear that gripped my very being. As police voices echoed in the hallway, a glimmer of hope pierced the darkness. The man's fabrication crumbled, his menacing facade revealed. From the safety of my apartment, I watched the man retreat, vanishing into the night. The sense of terror lingered, eclipsed by an unshakable dread. His methods of finding me remained a sinister enigma, a haunting reminder of vulnerability in the city's shadows.
In the murky depths of the past, almost 5 years back, I toiled at a gas station during unearthly hours, surrounded by the silent expanse of a small, hushed city in the dead of night. This gas station, seemingly isolated from any other establishment, lay along a desolate road not too far off from the highway. Night after night, I grappled with a combination of solitude and unease. Working the graveyard shift meant being the lone soul behind the gas station counter, grappling with the disconcerting possibility that any visitor could spell danger. The first few weeks remained uneventful, following the mundane routine of overnight work, until one night that altered everything. Around 2 or maybe 2:30 a.m., the tranquility shattered. A car glided into the gas station lot, bypassing the pumps and opting for the secluded parking area adjacent to the station. In no time, a figure emerged, a man, striding purposefully towards the entrance. Inside, he approached the counter with an urgent plea, claiming an issue with the free tire air stationed at one of the parking spots. Despite my limited knowledge about the machine's workings, I agreed to accompany him outside to investigate. Venturing outside, we looped around to the air pump's location, only to find his SUV parked 3 spaces away from the air filling station. His tires, upon inspection, appeared amply inflated, making his distress seem suspicious. When I tested the machine, it functioned perfectly fine. Attempting to explain its usage to the man, a hair-raising distraction unfolded. The SUV suddenly lurched backward, screeching tires hurtling towards me. Swift reflexes saved me from its path as I bolted to safety near the gas station's entrance. The man vanished, sprinting away towards the rear of the building. Locking the gas station doors, I phoned the police while keeping vigilant watch. The assailant's car darted out of the lot, vanishing into the darkness, leaving behind no trace of the license plate. Despite this, the law enforcement's investigation only gleaned the car's make and a vague description of the man. The chilling encounter was enough to jolt me from my job. The very next day, I tendered my resignation, opting for a different career path. The frightful incident left me pondering the unsettling motives behind the bizarre attempt on my life. The haunting memories of that night lingered, etched deep in my mind, casting a pall over my future choices. Working the night shift at a gas station had become an ordeal, something beyond my threshold of endurance.
In the grueling throes of financial strain, I stumbled upon a job at Dunkin' Donuts. Nestled in an apartment complex's shadow, my after-hours walks to work were an arduous yet necessary sacrifice. But nothing could prepare me for that ominous night in the sweltering July heat. Alone in the dim-lit store after closing, a lone wanderer approached the door, clad in a weathered beanie. His unnerving stare cut through the glass as I begrudgingly abandoned my chores to confront him. Ignoring the closure sign, he implored for food, tugging at my empathy. Reluctantly, I offered a meager meal, but he vanished before accepting it, leaving me to complete my tasks in eerie silence. 10 o'clock struck, the closing duties lingering longer than usual. As I emptied trash into the desolate alleyway, an unsettling echo sliced through the stillness. The stranger had returned, creeping closer. Desperate, I pointed to the food left by the dumpster, hoping he'd seize it. His stoic silence and unwavering stare chilled me to the core. The streets, shrouded in darkness, became the harrowing backdrop to an impromptu chase. My heart pounded as I darted across the road towards the safety of my apartment complex. Panic consumed me as he relentlessly pursued. Sudden headlights offered a sliver of hope, a young couple's car pulling up just in time. Without a second thought, I leaped into the vehicle, a whirlwind of terror and relief engulfing me. They sped away from the menace, their quick thinking and compassion saving me from an uncertain fate. As the boy and girl contacted the authorities, I recounted the horror that had just unfolded. In an attempt to evade the stalker, the couple took a detour, shielding me from the looming threat. Their altruism offered a glimmer of solace amidst the chaos. But their act of kindness remained anonymous, their names and identities lost in the frantic ordeal. The police promised to scour the vicinity for the unknown assailant, but their search yielded no answers. Yet, by some miraculous twist of fate, the stranger vanished into the shadows, sparing me from further encounters. Since that fateful night, I've trekked to work alone, unscathed by his presence. That singular act of serendipity, where strangers turned saviors, etched an indelible mark on my life. Grateful for their intervention, I've emerged from that ordeal, a testament to the fortitude of human kindness amidst inexplicable terror.
In the heart of the night, cloaked in the hush of the intensive care unit, I, a nurse, embarked on the unsettling routine of my shift. The ICU, an abyss of suffering and despair, offered an unwelcome backdrop to the horror that would unfold that fateful Friday night. A midnight arrival, an unidentified, battered woman was rushed in, unconscious, a tragic victim of unspeakable violence. Tending to her dire condition, we endeavored to stabilize her trembling vitality, an arduous task given her extensive injuries, cuts, bruises, and a mangled foot, tokens of a merciless assault. Around the witching hour, I entered her room, only to find her conscious, eyes ablaze with fear, her voice aquiver in the chilling silence. She whispered of peril, of a menacing boyfriend pleading to escape the confines of the hospital. Her terror pierced the calm, sending an ominous shiver down my spine. Vowing to shield her from the looming threat, I attempted to ease her distress, administering pain relief. But as I roamed the ward, a bone-chilling scream rent the silence, a desperate cry for salvation that vanished into the night. Rushing towards the source, I encountered a disconcerting vacuum of silence, a void where agony once echoed. Returning to her room, a gaping absence greeted me, an empty bed, a window flung wide, and a cart askew. Dread constricted my heart as I gazed out of the yawning window to the ominous parking garage below. She had vanished into the night, an inexplicable escape from the confines of her broken body. Security scrambled, an investigation ensued, but the trail grew cold, her disappearance a chilling enigma. Speculation swirled among us, whispers of a menacing boyfriend, of dark threats and harrowing consequences. The phone by her bedside lingered in my memory, a dark green case, a potential harbinger of her tormentor's intrusion. Haunted by unanswered questions, I was consumed by the sinister possibilities. Did her lover reach out, wielding his malevolence from afar? Or did her trauma trigger an unfathomable reaction, propelling her into a frantic escape from an invisible threat? In the aftermath of her vanishing act, my thoughts spiraled into the depths of darkness, haunted by the lurking shadows of an unsolved mystery. The dread lingered, a chilling reminder that evil lurks among us, poised to unleash its wrath on the most vulnerable. As the tendrils of dawn unfurled, I grappled with the profound enigma, knowing she had escaped a brutal fate, yet fearing the unknown horrors that awaited her. The harrowing event, an indelible stain on my tenure as a nurse, a stark testament to the depths of human suffering and the inexplicable terrors that dwell within the night.
In the eerie expanse of night, my stint at a cleaning company led me to a desolate office building perched in the heart of the city. The nocturnal solitude of my late-night shifts was a double-edged sword, serene yet profoundly unnerving. Assigned to this particular building, I embarked on my cleaning duties alone, traversing its 3 floors. The empty halls bore a checklist of tasks, each completed step ushering me closer to my exit. Entering, the entire edifice lay cloaked in darkness, adding a peculiar chill to the air. Engrossed in my chores, a flicker of a sound echoed from the 2nd floor, an elevator in motion, ascending to the 3rd. Panic simmered beneath the surface. I was the sole occupant, devoid of any company or reason for someone else to be present. Convincing myself of an innocuous explanation, I resumed cleaning. Yet an unsettling noise resurfaced, shattering my fragile sense of calm. A sense of dread loomed as I edged closer to the source, a hidden realm where the noises originated. And then, a fleeting glimpse of a man, a fleeting apparition dashing into the stairwell. The air grew thick with apprehension. He couldn't have escaped the building yet. Fueled by a tremor of fear, I thundered after him, demanding answers that were met with a haunting silence. His enigmatic presence triggered an alarm. My frantic call to vacate yielded only the sound of a door shutting, signaling his hasty departure. With trepidation, I resumed my tasks, swiftly maneuvering through the floors, praying for his absence. But silence bled into a chilling cacophony, footsteps trailing behind me on the third floor, the man's ghostly echo haunting my steps. His sudden reappearance left my heart racing. I pivoted to confront him, only catching a fleeting glimpse before embarking on a desperate sprint toward the stairs. The sound of his approach fueled my panic. A ghastly chase ensued, my every heartbeat a frantic plea for escape. Barely making it to my vehicle, I bolted inside, breathless and trembling, my heart pounding with the terror of what could have been. Police intervention was swift, culminating in the man's apprehension, but the remnants of his ominous pursuit lingered, a nightmare imprinted in my mind. The aftermath was a chilling cocktail of relief and horror, haunted by the ghastly possibility of what might have unfolded if our paths had crossed. The unanswered question of his intentions still gnawed at me, a phantom dread that refused to dissipate. This eerie encounter etched an indelible mark, a testament to the sinister shadows lurking in the dead of night. Yet, the solace of escape spared me from the grim unknown, leaving behind a chilling tale of a harrowing escape from the clutches of the inexplicable.